if you have Crocosmia that you need to plant into a larger container, or if you have the small bulbs that you need to plant into a container just by themselves, stay tuned because we're going to show you how to do either one in this video. Hey there, Sean and Allison here.
Guys.
Hey, we're out in our garden. We're going to transplant Crocosmia bulbs today, and we're going to plant brand new ones.
But before we get to that, if you missed our previous video, we washed up 25 of our Smart Pot bags to get them ready for dahlias, so definitely check that out.
So let's do this.
Okay, so first of all, we absolutely love Crocosmia. It's a favorite. It's a summer flowering bulb. It actually grows from a corm, and it attracts tons of pollinators. So if you're kind of on the fence about if you should grow Crocosmia or not, we highly recommend it. We have a lot of Crocosmia that we grew in our old yard, and this is where these came from. So when we moved a year, has it been a year now?
Yeah.
We moved a year ago. My time is all off. We took a bunch of Crocosmia from the old yard and we
Look at all those.
Yeah, how cool is this? Yeah, so what we need to do, you guys, you can probably see, they're packed in here.
Yep, there's many.
They're very tightly packed. So as you can see, Crocosmia grows this beautiful sword-like leaf. Its foliage just emerges first, and then the flower shoots up on a stem that hangs over, beautiful colors. All of ours are Lucifer, so that variety is very red, and you're probably the most familiar maybe with that color of Crocosmia. But what we have here, we can kind of dig through all our bare roots that we haven't planted yet.
Look at all these guys.
This is going to be kind of it doesn't look like much yet, but it's going to be a peachy colored Crocosmia.
Beautiful.
And apricot actually is what they call
Apricot.
it. This is called Limpopo Apricot Crocosmia. So we just picked this one up in February of this year, and yeah, we haven't planted it yet.
Yep.
So we have the roots soaking in a little bit of water right now to rehydrate it.
We bought this as a Bareroot. It was actually, it's funny, it's a bulb, it's a corm, but it was sold to us as a Bareroot. So that was an interesting concept we hadn't run across yet.
Yeah, but if you look close, you can see the corm.
Yep, but it already had all these roots in it, but it was sold to us like this in a package with wet sphagnum. And so it came like this. It was interesting.
But we have some other things hydrating in here. We've got to get these planted very soon. We have
canna, and then an Aphofia, which is starting to grow its roots, newer roots right there. That's pretty cool.
I can't wait to see this. This is a white Aphofia.
And then I can't
This
read
is
what
a
we
bee
have
balm.
here.
Jacob Klein. It's an heirloom red bee balm.
Awesome.
That's going to be awesome.
Yep.
And that is a definite root because that is an herbaceous perennial. So
and some of this we're not sure if it's going to make it because we're kind of waiting. We've waited too long to plant it a little bit, but we'll see.
So what we need to do first is, do you want to transplant or plant first?
Let's plant first.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to plant first this Bareroot, or it's literally a bulb with roots already growing in it, and you can see it's already started to grow. We already showed you this, but I got it in my hand here, so I'm going to show you again. There's those roots. They're starting to really come out. They want to grow. This plant wants to grow.
It wants to live.
And here's the oldest, second oldest, most young,
I love that.
youngest.
That's so cool.
It's the progression of its propagation underneath the ground. So anyway, so that's fun to see. So we need to get this Crocosmia planted, but there's a lot of different information out there on the depth, how deep we need to plant this. Generally 3 to 4 inches, maybe 5 inches if you want to. That's pretty deep. And these are smaller types of bulbs. So the general rule of thumb for these bulbs, if you didn't have that depth, that information on the depth, is going 2 to 3 times deep as this bulb is wide. So I mean, that could be about 2.5, 3.5 inches. So we're gonna go down about 3 to 4 inches, and that should be good enough. So this is how you're gonna plant your Crocosmia bulbs when you have them like this, or just regular bulbs. You're gonna need a hori-hori knife, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go off this container right here. It's got a lip. I don't know if you can see that right there. It's got a lip right here. That's about 1.5 inches, if you can see that from here to here. You want to leave this space open with no soil so we have a reservoir of water to sit and then slowly filter through. So that's what we're going to do. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either go by that, or you can fill the soil up here to that level and then use a hori-hori knife with graduated markings, or a hand trowel with graduated markings. We can go down to about 4 inches there. I'm just going to go this way with the soil, and I'm going to keep this area, I'm going to leave this area alone, and I'm going to start bringing the soil out here. And then we're going to go, so right about here is where we want to plant this. We want to plant it right about there, because you can see there's my 4 inches right there is my marking. Then I can just take my Crocosmia here, try and splay the roots out and spread them out a little bit. And we're going to go down, and we're going to get this down there. So Remember, we talked about there were 3 bulbs there. We're going to go about halfway and make sure that middle bulb is right at that 4-inch depth marking. So the one below that middle bulb is a little bit further down, and the bulb just above it is a little bit further above it, but they're generally in the same area. If you run into the same issue, that's how you need to do this. And so, yeah, now we're just going to refill the hole, make sure it's padded down really well. And then our next step is to water this. So I'm going to redig this out here. It's not quite straight up and down like I want it to be. So I'm going to reposition it a little bit so it is straight up and down. There we go. All right, so we've planted our Crocosmia bulb here, and now we're going to transplant and put into a larger pot, plant into a larger pot, these Crocosmia plants. Now, these have been in these pots for a little over a year now, and they're getting really crowded. I can just tell just by picking them up, they're kind of lumpy around, they're hard and lumpy around the edges of them. And so that means that the bulbs are starting to really multiply. And what we need to do is we need to get them out of here. We're going to put them in here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing you want to do, pick up your pot, turn it over, squeeze the bottom of this, and then bring it out like this. And you can see, wow, look at all that. There's so much in here. There's actually one of the plants right there, one of the Crocosmia bulbs. And then this one was kind of below the pot level, but that's trying to come up. So, I mean, there's a lot of bulbs in here, you guys. So what we're going to do is literally, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to just grab it and pull it apart like that. I'm going to continue to do this until I get maybe 1 or 2 bulbs together. And then that way we'll really separate these out. Now you can see here, this is really cool right here. Here's one of the Crocosmia, and there's the bulb it's coming from. Here's the roots. That's cool, isn't it? It's coming right out of there. It's growing this new plant. I'm just going to keep pulling these apart nicely. Don't rip, just gently pull them apart. You start really tearing them apart and just going so fast, you're going to end up hurting the plants. We can do them in clusters, I think. I think that'll be okay. And so now this one, this is cool. So if you look at this right here, look at all these bulbs all together right here. Got all these different bulbs here. I'll turn it around. There's more along the side here. These are all inside here really close. I need to break these up. You don't want them growing too close together for too long because they'll grow on top of each other, and then it just gets to be a real mess. And you're not going to get really healthy plants at that point, and you want your plants to be healthy. So they need space to grow above the ground and below the ground. Before we plant these, I need to tell you something. Planting these is a little bit different than planting those. These are already established. This hasn't been planted yet, the one we just did before. These guys have been planted, they've been growing for a while. What we need to do when we plant these is match the soil level that these were already planted at, which is right about here on this one, if you can see that. You can see there's some soil, and then the soil stops right here along the stem here of this Crocosmia bulb. You can also see right here, it's white. That means it was below the soil level. So we need to bring the soil right about here. That's where our soil in this pot needs to go to, and that's how deep we need to plant it here. So that's why this is a little bit different than that. So after you've got them planted, after you've watered them in thoroughly, you need to place them in not a full sun location yet. You just transplant them. There's going to be a little bit of shock. Maybe keep them in some partial shade, a partial shade area in your garden for maybe a couple days so they can kind of get used to their new soil, their new location, their new situation where they're growing. And then maybe after about 3 or 4 days, bring them out, put them in the full sun location, and just kind of watch them and see how they do. The last thing you want to do is overstress your newly planted plants, and you want to give them time to adapt to their new pot, their new home. So yeah, and then aftercare basically is just keep them watered on a regular basis and stake them when you think you need to. When you start seeing them kind of maybe teeter over a little bit, and they're going to get top heavy once they start flowering, they'll just literally start laying over. So go ahead and stake them. You can either stake them in the pot or use something else outside the pot to then tie them to or corral them around with, and then they should be good. Yep, and then enjoy the flowers and all the hummingbirds and pollinators.
Well, that is a wrap. We finished both of the Crocosmia projects that we had on the list, and now we are just going to keep them in their little nursery and just watch them grow over the next year and keep them protected.
Yeah, I can't wait to see all of them flower and
too.
actually see which flowers, what colors they have in the flowers. It's going to be really fun to just watch all that happen.
Yeah, it will. I mean, they should be red. They're mostly all Lucifer, we think.
They're supposed to be, but you never know.
You never know.
Thank you for being here. Make sure to leave your comments down below. We love hearing from you guys. And if you have any questions, definitely put them down below. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you get updates on all our latest videos.
And stay tuned for our next video. We have a whole bunch of canna lilies to plant, and we're really excited to get into that. So we will show you that on the next video.
So see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.